Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking a really vital stack of your sources. We're
hmm
going from local California challenges right through to national economic insights and even a pretty groundbreaking look at higher education rankings.
Quite a range today.
It is. Our goal, like always, is to cut through the noise, pull out those key insights, and get you up to speed fast. So expect some compelling stories, maybe a few surprises.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's dive in. We're starting with something hitting close to home for a lot of folks in Southern California, but honestly, the implications echo much wider.
Okay.
We're looking at the really painful property insurance struggles facing Altadena fire victims. This is following the devastating Eaton fire.
That was just horrific. The loss of life, the scale.
Absolutely. 19 lives tragically lost, nearly 14,000 acres burned, thousands of properties gone in Altadena and Pasadena, and now, perhaps surprisingly, it's become the inspiration for a new CBS series.
Right. From Kenya Barris, the creator of Blackish. It focuses on two brothers. They inherit their grandmother's house, and then they find out her caretaker owns part of it, won't sell. So they're forced to live together, dealing with family, legacy, that kind of thing.
Okay, so a classic sitcom setup in a way.
Sort of, but here's the striking part. The premise directly mirrors these very real anxieties happening in Altadena right now.
How so?
Well, concerns about developers maybe coming in, gentrifying the area once it's rebuilt, and crucially, worries that soaring insurance costs could actually price out the area's Black fire victims permanently.
Wow. So art imitating life, but a very painful life right now.
Exactly. And Mike Epps is joining the cast. It's multi-camera, and it's going to be a comedy.
A comedy. Okay, I can see how that might cause some issues.
Yeah, the timing and the comedic approach definitely sparked backlash online. People questioning if it's the right way to, handle such a recent tragedy.
How did Barris respond?
He addressed it on Instagram. Basically said, look, how else can I support? I do this, I make shows, I try to bring light to places people forget. He said, I understand your fear, but know that I only plan to do the best I can to make sure the world sees you.
It really throws that tension into sharp relief, doesn't it? Between entertainment, art, and a community's raw grief.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't just about the show, right?
No.
The community's concerns are much more immediate, much more focused on the insurance nightmare.
Right, the practicalities.
Exactly. Just recently, August 25th, victims and state reps, led by Assemblymember John Harabedian, held a press conference.
Where was that?
At a local Altadena library, they're calling on Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara to step in. They want him to crack down on what they call insurer misconduct and stop any more rate increases for State Farm General.
State Farm specifically.
Well, Harabedian put it bluntly. He said they are facing unavoidable hardships caused by insurance delays, denials, and underpayments.
And Catherine Barger, the 5th District Supervisor, she also called out State Farm General. They are California's biggest home insurer, right?
That's right. And get this, State Farm isn't just sitting tight. They're actively seeking an 11% homeowners rate increase.
11%. Wow.
And that's on top of an emergency rate increase of 17% that Commissioner Lara already approved back in May.
So they got 17%, and now they want another 11 while victims are struggling.
Precisely. Barger demanded swift investigations, like within 60 days, and a freeze on rate hikes until survivors are actually made whole.
Has Commissioner Lara said anything?
Not publicly. Regarding these specific demands, no.
Oh.
But a State Farm spokesperson, Bob Devereaux, disputed the idea of widespread mistreatment.
What did he say?
Said an overwhelming majority is satisfied with our service. Our goal is to work with customers to resolve any of their concerns.
Oh.
He also gives some numbers.
Okay.
State Farm estimates claim payments will top $7 billion just from the January 7th fires. They've already gotten over 13,000 claims, paid out over $4.5 billion.
So huge numbers on both sides.
Huge. What this whole situation just crystallizes, I think, are the immense, almost overwhelming challenges for the victims trying to rebuild and for the insurance industry trying to manage these massive liabilities from huge disasters.
It feels like more than just Altadena.
Oh, absolutely. This is like a preview, a stark preview of the national insurance crisis that's brewing as climate change keeps hitting harder. It shows our current insurance models are really struggling. They might leave whole communities, especially the vulnerable ones, basically uninsurable.
Unable to rebuild. That's a terrifying thought. Victoria Knapp, the Altadena Town Council chair, she put it very simply. Behind every delayed insurance claim is a family forced to wait in limbo.
Such a powerful statement.
And to try and help with that limbo, Harabedian also mentioned AB 238. That's a bill he wrote.
What does it do?
It aims to let disaster-impacted homeowners pause their mortgage payments for up to a year. He framed it as a clear responsibility to protect survivors.
A bit of breathing room, maybe?
Definitely need it. So, the Altadena story really underscores that need for legislation, for advocacy, when you're facing these deep systemic challenges. Let's broaden out now. Look at California's wider efforts on justice, specifically honoring the Voting Rights Act and also exploring some really new ground on historical injustices.
Right. California recently marked the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Yeah.
That's the landmark federal law. LBJ signed it. Prohibits racial discrimination in voting.
We often think of its impact in the South, right? Breaking down those barriers for African Americans.
Exactly. But California's recent actions show how states can actually build on that foundation, keep expanding access.
Like with Adam Kane's story, he was serving a 14-year prison sentence, learn how vital voting is. And back then, formerly incarcerated people on parole in California, they couldn't always vote. That changed, though.
Big time. With Proposition 17, passed in 2020, it restored voting rights to about 50,000 people on state parole for felony convictions.
50,000. Wow. And Kane was involved in pushing for that.
Yeah, advocating from both inside and outside prison. It's a powerful example of individual drive meeting system change.
Absolutely. What about the impact? Who did Prop 17 really affect?
Well, this is key. According to the League of Women Voters, about 3 out of 4 men leaving California prisons are African American, Latino, or Asian American. And Black Americans nationally are 4 times more likely to lose their voting rights due to felony convictions than white Americans.
So Prop 17 wasn't just general expansion. It directly tackled a specific historical inequity.
Precisely. Secretary of State Shirley Weber talked about that connection. Your right to vote, the outcome of that vote, how it shapes politics. She noted California has really pushed ahead with things like vote by mail, rights for people on probation or parole, things that, frankly, just don't exist in many other states right now.
Yeah, some places are going the other way, restricting access.
It's a stark contrast.
Okay, so building on that push for justice, let's look at these active legislative efforts now, the ones dealing with other historical injustices. On August 29th, 3 bills from the California Legislative Black Caucus's Road to Repair package got out of the suspense file.
Right, the suspense file. For listeners, that's basically a holding place for bills that might cost the state a decent chunk of change, over $50,000 from the main budget, the general fund, or $150,000 from special funds.
So getting out means they're seen as financially viable, at least for now?
Essentially, yes. The Appropriations Committee Chair, Buffy Wicks, stressed how important it was to keep these moving because of their critical impact. So now they head to the Assembly floor for a full vote. It's a significant step.
Okay, they cleared that hurdle. Let's break them down. What are these Road to Repair bills actually proposing?
Okay, first up, SB 515. This was from Senator Laura Richardson. It's about how local governments track employee demographics. If it passes, starting in 2027, cities and counties would have to add new, specific categories for Black or African American ancestry when collecting data. Chris Logson from the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California called it progress, another step in the right direction.
More detailed data, basically. Okay, what's next?
SB 518. This is from the CLBC chairperson, Senator Akilah Weber Pearson. This would set up a bureau for descendants of American slavery housed within the state's Department of Justice.
A dedicated bureau. What would it do?
It proposes 4 sections: genealogy, property reclamation, education and outreach, and legal affairs. Sounds pretty comprehensive.
It does. And the third bill?
That's SB 437, also by Weber Pearson. This one would allocate up to $6 million to the Cal State University System, the CSU.
For what purpose?
To research and set up a process for verifying who is genealogically eligible for potential reparations.
Okay, so establishing the groundwork, the verification process. But I remember reading there's some pushback, even from within the reparations advocacy community. People like Chris Lodgson and Reggie Romaine again.
That's right, and it's really striking. They feel these bills, especially SB 437 with the CSU study, actually slow things down.
Delay the process. Why? What's their core worry?
Their main concern seems to be about momentum and effectiveness. While groups like the NAACP support these bills, Lodgson and Romaine, representing CJEC, worry that a long study, particularly one in SB 437, with no clear end date, just diverts energy and money from taking direct action now.
So what do they want instead?
They're pushing for an independent state agency, one with immediate powers to implement reparations, rather than having the CSU system do more research first. Lodgson said these bills slow us down and move us backward. He called the study in SB 437 a waste of time and money.
Rhymer words.
Yeah, and Romaine echoed that, worrying the study has a starting date but no finish date. This internal debate, it doesn't really signal weakness, I don't think. It just highlights how incredibly complex reparations are.
Yeah, it's not simple.
Not at all. The path isn't clear-cut. It's a tough negotiation, even among people who share the same ultimate goal. It really shows how deep these historical wounds run and how varied the ideas are for addressing them.
That's a really interesting dynamic. It's not if reparations, but how and when, and the timeline itself is contentious. And it's moving fast. The legislature needs to pass bills by September 12th.
Right. Then they go to Governor Newsom, and he has until October 12th to sign or veto. Lots happening there.
Okay, let's shift gears again. Moving from legislative action to, well, economic structures and how they impact us all, specifically wealth, fairness, taxes. We've got this new study from the National Bureau of Economic Research, the NBER, on billionaire taxes. It might just challenge what you think you know.
Yeah, the headline finding is pretty stark. America's wealthiest billionaires pay a significantly lower share of their income in taxes compared to most workers.
Lower? How much lower?
Well, this study used government data from 2010 to 2020. They matched the Forbes 400 list, the richest Americans with tax returns. And they found this super elite group paid an average total effective tax rate of just 24% between 2018 and 2020.
24%? How does that compare?
The average for the entire U.S. population is around 30%. And for people earning top salaries, like high-wage workers, it's about 45%.
Wow. Okay. And that effective rate includes everything, not just income tax.
Right. It's defined as all taxes paid relative to their total economic income. So that includes wages, sure, but also business profits, and crucially, capital gains, the increase in value of their assets, like stocks.
That difference is pretty eye-opening. So why? How do the wealthiest manage to pay a lower rate? What's in the tax code that allows this?
The study points to a few key things, like C corporations, which billionaires often own, tend to distribute very little in dividends.
So the money stays in the company.
Right. Which means the owners don't pay much individual income tax on those profits unless they actually sell their stock. Then you have pass-through businesses, partnerships, S-corp. They often report negative taxable income, even if the business itself is making tons of money.
How does that work? Negative income?
Because the profits and losses flow directly to the owner's personal tax returns. And those returns can be structured, perfectly legally, to show losses for tax purposes, offsetting other income, even if the underlying business is thriving.
Okay, so structural things in the code. What about recent policy changes? Did they play a role?
A big one, according to the study. They specifically point to the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Right, the Trump tax cuts.
Exactly. Before that law, from 2010 to 2017, billionaires' effective tax rates were around 30%, closer to the average. After the law passed, that rate dropped to the 24% figure we mentioned.
And what was the key change in that law?
A major factor was slashing the federal corporate tax rate from 35% down to 21%. And even things like estate and gift taxes, they don't seem to make a huge dent. Forbes 400 members who passed away paid only about 0.8% of their wealth in estate tax if they were married.
0.8%. Okay. Can you give us a sense of the breakdown? Like, how much of their tax rate comes from corporate versus individual taxes?
Sure. So of that roughly 24% effective rate for the top 400, about 9 percentage points comes from corporate taxes paid by their companies. Their individual income taxes only amounted to about 11% of their total economic income.
11% individual, that's low.
It is. And here's another way to look at it. Measured against their total wealth, not just income, the richest Americans paid only 1.3% of their holdings in taxes each year between 2018 and 2020.
1.3% of their wealth.
Yeah, and that's down from 2.7% between 2010 and 2013. The trend is clear.
Is this just a U.S. thing?
Apparently not entirely. The study mentions similar findings elsewhere. Like billionaires in the Netherlands pay less than 20% of economic income. In France, around 26%. Now, the researchers are careful. They say the exact rate can depend a bit on how you define economic income. But they tried multiple methods, and the result was consistent. The richest households seem to be taxed at a lower rate than the average American.
What does this tell us, bigger picture?
Stepping back, I think it highlights this growing concern about, well, tax fairness, and also about the sustainability of funding public services, especially when so much of the economic gain is concentrated right at the very top. It definitely sparks debate.
It really does, a debate about what we value in our economy. Okay, let's pivot one last time. From economic structures to another area where value is being seriously reevaluated, higher education. The Washington Monthly magazine just dropped its revised 2025 college rankings, and they might just turn your idea of the best colleges upside down.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Traditionally, when we think college rankings, we think U.S. news.
Yeah.
And those lists have historically rewarded things like wealth, prestige, exclusivity.
Right. The ones that are hardest to get into have huge endowments.
Exactly. They celebrate that selectivity.
Yeah.
But Washington Monthly's approach, it's completely different. They measure colleges based on how much they help. And I'm quoting here. Ordinary middle and working class students get ahead economically and become good citizens.
That sounds practical.
It is. It focuses on the outcomes that, frankly, most students and taxpayers actually want from investing in higher education. It's a fundamental redefinition of what value means in this context.
So how does that play out in the rankings? What kind of surprises are we seeing?
Oh, the list is full of them.
Yeah.
They call half the top schools hidden gems. Get this. The University of Texas Rio Grande Valley ranks 21 slots above Harvard.
Wow. Above Harvard.
Florida International University places 8 spots higher than Duke. And even the top-ranked elite school, Princeton, only comes in at number 5.
Who's above Princeton?
3 campuses from the Cal State system, including Fresno State at number 2.
Cal State's beating Princeton on this metric. That's amazing. Who's number 1?
Number 1 in America, according to Washington Monthly, is Berea College. It's a liberal arts school in rural Kentucky.
Berea. What makes them number 1?
What's remarkable is they offer a high-quality education for almost zero tuition. They have a really strong work-study program that makes it possible.
0 tuition and number 1. That says something.
It really does. The magazine's editor, Paul Glastris, said their changes account for the new realities facing higher education. The focus is squarely on schools helping students, especially those with modest means, get degrees that actually lead to good jobs, helping them avoid crushing debt and preparing them to be active citizens.
So social mobility and civic engagement are key metrics.
Exactly. And they've even added 2 new related rankings, Best Colleges for Research and Best Hispanic Serving Colleges. It just makes you step back and ask, are we valuing the right things in higher ed? Should access, affordability, economic mobility maybe count for more than exclusivity and endowment size?
Those are definitely the big questions these rankings raise. It challenges that whole traditional idea of a good college. Are others taking notice?
They are. Top education leaders are praising it. For U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona said, quote, "Rankings should not reward colleges for the students they keep out, but those they admit and support through graduation."
That puts it pretty clearly. It really forces you to think about what good means for you personally, for your investment. And wow, that wraps up another pretty intense deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground. From those heartbreaking, they're also inspiring stories in Altadena, the insurance fight, the legislative efforts, then shifting to California's commitment to voting rights, that complex debate on reparations, then zooming out to how the wealthiest pay taxes or perhaps don't pay as much, and finally, totally rethinking what makes a college best.
If you try to tie it all together, what really stands out is this constant interplay, right, between individual lives, community strength, big policy decisions.
We see it everywhere.
And how we as a society define and chase after equity and value. Whether it's rebuilding a town, ensuring fair votes, or deciding what makes a good education, it's all connected.
It absolutely is. Understanding those connections hopefully helps all of us make more informed choices. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. As you think about these stories, the legislation, the rankings, the personal struggles, maybe consider how our collective values really do shape the world around us. What single idea or fact from today stuck with you the most? And what might that spark you to look into further? Until next time, keep digging, keep learning.